All right, guys. So quite clearly, I'm not at the 9 to 5 studios. Okay, I'm recording this video at a hotel. So with that, obviously the quality is going to be a little bit lower, but hopefully we can give you guys, the correct process for today's slate. So looking at it, today's board is going to be pretty decent. We're getting a lot of solid NHL lines. As it sits right now, the NBA board is not going to be perfect, but it is what it is. So I'm going to go ahead and start out with the NHL board that we're getting. And so looking at today, guys, we are getting several of NHL bets that are going to be favorable odds. So the first one that we got is going to be under 3.5 shots on goal here. This is going to be minus 144. This is going to be one of the better prop bets that we are getting on the day. I do just want to point out, I am recording this in a hotel. My whole process for the day is thrown off. I'm not going to be giving it today's bet because of that. So it is very much going to be here are the best odds, especially NHL wise, just as an FYI. And so if we continue on, we got David Perron under 2.5 shots on goal. It seems like every slate he's been favoring the under shots on goal here. This is going to be minus 140. We can see he has consistently just been getting around 2 shots on goal. That is probably what his prop line should be at, is 2 shots on goal. Is a prop that you can make if you choose to do so. That's all these props that we're getting today in NHL. It is what it is, right? Can't control the board, but we can control the information that comes out with the board. So another one, and you guys know my thoughts on betting the unders here. We have another under, minus 140 here for Kyle, 2.5 shots on goal. And then we're going to have one more under before we get into another over. And now, personally, I actually don't mind the under here for Brad. He is someone that kind of was our lock and load 2 sites ago. He got injured halfway through the second period. And so if he is playing through an injury, what are the chances that he gets injured again? That is not an odds-based bet. That's more of a, is he injured, and how many, or what's the likelihood of him re-injuring that and not playing a full allotment that he typically would play? That's a big question mark that I have. But looking at it, David under 4.5 shots on goal. We can see 4 of the past 5 games he's been under. Really, if he gets over, it's probably going to be 5 shots on goal, right? And so this is one of the better ones that we are getting for unders as well. This is about minus 140, but the over is set at plus 110. So the other ones are about plus 105, 108, and these are all on average. So these are good bets that we were getting. None of them are, locking those, but they're all pretty strong. So the first good over bet that we are getting, and probably the best bet that we're getting on the board, is going to be looking at the over here, 2.5 shots on goal. This is favored at minus 150. So like I said, this is the best bet that we're getting on paper, minus 150. You could pair that with any one of the other bets that we were getting, but the next bet is probably going to be the best one as well because we're getting minus 145 odds. So here's another one where it is favored minus 145 for the under shots on goal here, 2.5 shots on goal. And then lastly, I want to call it another one because it is just very interesting. This has been one that has been favored to go under basically every slate lately, and it has one under. So looking at under 2.5 shots on goal here, we can see, basically all the games has been under 2.5 shots on goal. Now, Chicago is already a team that doesn't typically get that many shots on goal. So it's no surprise that, a lot of the unders are kind of the way to go with them. And that's looking like the case today. Now, this one is only set at minus 139, but if you want to, continue with the cold hand here, you could do the under here as well. And guys, once again, just a quick apologies for the quality of today's video. I am recording in a hotel. I'm going to be away from my computer this afternoon as well. And then tomorrow's video, if I come out with it, it will be, probably later on in the day. Maybe I'll do a Sunday night live stream or something. We'll see. Trying to figure out the content for tomorrow. But if a video doesn't come out, apologies with that as well. Just trying to figure out the weekend schedule while we're, kind of navigating the content for the space. So looking at NHL or NBA wise, we have a bunch of interesting bets as it sits right now. They did just take out an over bet that was pretty solid. Jaden Ivey, over threes was a decent one. But looking at, we got Giannis over 11.5 rebounds. Okay, he's only projected to get 11.8, so nothing that is a lock and load here, but we can see minus 138 favored, projected to get over a decent line that we are getting there. And then if we continue on, Darius Garland over 7.5 assists, another pretty good line that we are getting here. We can see the line is set at minus 131, very good line there. We can see he's projected to get 8.5, so a full assist over. That's a pretty good sign of this being a pretty good prop. And the nice thing about it is if we look at it, his minutes aren't really projected to change at all. So as a whole, it's just going to be a good matchup, which is already favoring the over. And typically speaking, if we look at all the metrics, the only thing that suggests he should be under is what the Vegas line should be based off of his projected minutes, and that is just slightly below. So basically, what we're getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4 out of the 5 metrics that we use to kind of get a base projection, they're all saying over. So that's a pretty good one there for Darius Garland. Then once again, guys, I do want to call out, I'm not going to be doing a bet of the day. I am out of the office quite clearly. 9 to 5 Studios is a few hours away from where I'm at, so not recording there. And so with that, typically when I'm thrown off of my routine, I don't want to bet too much. I'll have some bets out there today, don't get me wrong, but definitely not going to be one in which I'm attacking too much. Just like I said, my routine's thrown off. I don't want to go too crazy. But I'm trying to give you guys the information because if you find a bet that you like, you can go ahead and make that bet. Porzingis now. Porzingis, I kind of like this bet. Porzingis tonight over 7.5 rebounds, projected to get 9.23. So projected to get 9. Obviously, that's 2 more than 7. And so just needs to get 8 rebounds. Looking like a pretty solid prop here. And we look across the board, all the key metrics that we were looking at to kind of use this projection, all favoring the over here as well. Pretty strong edge. It's a bet that I like today on this slate. And then if we continue on, nothing too crazy from there. Let's check and see if we have any good under bets that we are getting. So like here, Killian Hayes is minus 138 for the assist, but we can see he's projected to get over it. Going to be one that we stay away from. Same thing with James Wiseman here. And these are bets that you can make on DraftKings Sportsbook, where especially James Wiseman here, this is kind of just an interesting one with him. This is definitely predicated on minutes. He does get a difficult matchup today going against Cleveland. And really the Cleveland-Detroit game is extremely interesting because Cleveland should blow them out. And then who's going to get the minutes in a blowout? How many minutes are the Cleveland Cavaliers players going to play in a blowout as well? James Wiseman should be locked in to get in those minutes. So kind of to me, if we're betting on James Wiseman, I think we're betting on him, hoping that the game's a blowout really quickly so that the Cleveland starters, Mobley and Allen, aren't playing that much. That way he can get some more run against some of the backups. And so looking at, there's not really any under bets that I like too much as a whole. Probably just sticking away from those ones. Now, let's look at this. There was a decent amount of these ones, and prior to going live or recording this video, they took away some. And that's very frustrating here. So there were some good Bucks props that were out there. They are no longer out there. But looking at it, Pascal Siakam, decent line here. We can see, on average, the sportsbooks lines are favoring 36 points, rebounds, and assists. We can see that his over odds are set at minus 122. The issue, only projected to get 34. So we don't have any continuity there. Probably one that we're sticking away from just because of that. As we continue on, nothing like a lock there. Let's see any under bets that we can go with. Probably not. If you want to go Scotty Barnes under points and assists, does seem like a close line. And as I'm recording this, guys, we are not getting any lines for fantasy points. I do want to point out Jakob Poeltl. What are we going to get for him again? Because he has been someone where they have been putting his fantasy point prop line at 30. And based off of his points, rebounds, and assists line that we were getting, it seems like we might get that line again. So if it's at 30, maybe even 31, we could attack that, especially against Washington. That is such a strong, favorable matchup. He just went off against them as well. I don't see a reason why that would change. So Jakob Poeltl, I really hope that we get another strong line fantasy point wise, because that should be a spot in which we can attack. Now, the issue is that eventually it's not going to work out, right? Eventually it's not going to hit. But until that happens, I kind of feel fine rolling with it. Then looking at Zach Collins going against Houston, this should be a good spot for him as well. I'm hoping that we also get a good fantasy point prop line here. If this is set at 31.5, I probably would be fine betting the over. That's probably where I would bet or put the line though, 31.5. So definitely guessing there, but just based off of the points, rebounds, and assists, let's say you add a block in there and maybe a half a steal, then yeah, 31.5 is kind of where I'm getting that. So I don't mind betting on bids. It seems like they are much easier to predict in terms of production, just because they're going to get their rebounds most likely, and as long as the minutes are there, they're going to be productive. Yeah, so they bumped up some of the Bucks props that were out there. Drew was good for rebounds and assists. I don't mind that still. Could get 6 rebounds or 6 assists, 5 rebounds. Not terrible, but probably not one we're going with now. I'm just looking at points, rebounds, and assists to see if there's any edges there as it sits right now. Obviously, small 5-game slate as well. Probably not going to get that much news. All right, gentlemen, but that's going to be all. Well, ladies and gentlemen, apologies there. That's going to be all for today's video. Like I said, not at the 9 to 5 studios today. Didn't want to give it today's bet because, I don't know, personally, I've noticed that I tend to force bets a little bit more when I'm not properly researching. And I'm not saying I didn't do that today, went through the same process and whatnot, but definitely just a slightly different element to it today for me personally. So the routine's thrown off slightly. So didn't want to give today's bet. Hopefully you guys were able to find some bets that you liked and could use. Obviously those NHL bets are pretty favorable that we're getting today. So maybe just do, single leg bets with that, and then, or 2-leg bets with that, and mix and match the NBA bets. I'm hoping that we get good fantasy lines for Zach Collins and Jakob Poeltl. All right, thanks for watching, guys, and as always, let's keep cashing.